Hello everyone, and welcome to the long-awaited Q&A video. For starters, I would like to point out that today is a momentous date in history. And no, not because of Valentine's Day. It is officially my YouTube channel's anniversary. And the reason I've taken so long to release this video is because I wanted to get it out for the channel's 3rd birthday. Technically it's already the 15th as you see this in New Zealand, but seeing as this channel was created in the UK originally, it's actually bang on time for British and European viewers. Anyway, the purpose of this video is for you guys to get to know me better, so as well as some of your questions asked on Twitter, I'll chuck in a few general questions that I've been asked in the past. Enjoy the show! Okay, so first question. What's the history behind the name Jeb? Well, in order to understand the name Jeb, you must first understand the legendary game that is Kerbal Space Program. Basically, in KSP you build rockets, fly them to space, and send them around the solar system. You can also build planes, missiles, and in the game, every save file starts with 4 default Kerbal astronauts, and Jebediah Kerman, or Jeb for short, is their so-called leader. Since I got the game in early 2017, I instantly liked the appeal of the Jeb character, and thus some variation of the name Jeb has been my gamer tag ever since. For YouTube, back when I first started, it was Jeb Plays Games, not exactly imaginative. Then at the start of 2020, when I started making F1 content, I changed it to Jeb Motorsport. It's snappy and easy to remember, not much more to say really. Will Alex Albon strive at Williams in your opinion? I do think so actually. Anyone who's followed me on Twitter for a while knows I'm not exactly Alex's biggest fan, especially not of his 2020 season. But in 2019, he was certainly a solid driver who showed at least a decent amount of promise. It'll be hard to excel in the Williams unless they've made serious strides against last season, but I reckon away from the Red Bull environment, he might just return to form. Which driver from New Zealand will become the next Formula 1 World Champion? Liam Lawson. Back-to-back titles in 2025 and 26 with Red Bull are incoming. In all seriousness, it's very hard to predict where the next Kiwi Formula 1 champion will come from. Motorsport is very small and underfunded in New Zealand, so you can either A, be born very rich, go to Europe and pay loads of money, or B, get noticed, scouted by an F1 junior team, and go to Europe with their training program. Both are pretty rare occurrences. Ligier or Prost? Ligier, and it's not even close. I loved Alain's vision, but Prost was a punctured balloon before it ever got inflated. I've got a video in the works on that topic actually, but let's just say the colour was the best thing about that team. Ligier, on the other hand, had a long and storied history in Formula 1, and were responsible for bringing through a lot of successful French drivers, like René Arnoux, Didier Pironi, and Jacques Lafitte. Monaco 1996 is still one of my favourite unexpected wins for Ligier and Olivier Panis. How did you get into YouTube? Why talk about Formula 1 here? So, like many people, for me YouTube was a gradual process. I started my first YouTube channel around 2016ish, because I was a naive and foolish child who thought screen recording my gameplay of old racing games on my school laptop would make me the next Markiplier. I uploaded about 10 videos, but I can't find them anywhere. The channel was probably deleted out of retroactive embarrassment after a few months. I always wanted to try the YouTube dream. I even thought about making a Kerbal Space Program channel where I talk about spaceflight and stuff, because spaceflight was my other great passion alongside motorsport. But I never really had the time and it never quite materialised. This particular channel was started in February 2019, shortly after I moved to the UK to continue high school. I found my new school's resident petrolheads pretty quickly, and Formula 1 was a pretty popular subject of discussion. One of those guys, my friend Ethan, had just started his own YouTube channel for his Formula 1 and gaming content. You can see the link to that channel below in the description, and even though it's been dormant for about 14 years, feel free to subscribe. Maybe he'll make another video, who knows. I certainly can't convince him to. Anyway, one summer day, about 2 weeks after I started at my new school, we were chatting in the line for the PE changing rooms, when a bet was formed. I would make a YouTube channel and attempt to catch up to him in subscribers. Whoever had the least amount of subscribers by the end of the year had to buy the winner a chicken wrap from the school canteen. I started out with some gameplay videos on Project Cars 2, the Grid and F1 games, plus Gran Turismo 4. They were pretty low quality, just screen recorded with NVIDIA Shadowplay and my horrible laptop microphone. I managed a few hundred views but couldn't win the bet. I only had 43 subscribers by the end of 2019 and thus lost £1.80 and a significant amount of my dignity. My first F1 video was made in March 2020, and was basically a voiceover of me talking about some of Formula 1's biggest teammate rivalries. Clips of classic car gameplay from Formula 1 2019 played in the background, along with some Gran Turismo lounge music, which is a long-running staple of the channel. I have since delisted it in shame, but it got to about 400 views, which was pretty good at the time. My subscriber count also went up from about 55 to around 80 following that video, and I decided since I liked writing about Formula 1 so much, I would make it the new direction for my channel. More videos followed, and I passed 100 subscribers in May, doubling my subscriber count from the entire year of 2019. I kept with it, releasing videos on subjects I was passionate about or randomly caught my attention, and started interacting with fellow Formula 1 creators on Twitter. I think ditching my inbuilt microphone for a blue snowball microphone in August was probably the first serious commitment I've made to the channel. I had now invested $110 into my content. I've only made about $4 of that back though, so it might take a while. Why do I create YouTube videos? Well, it's because I like being able to share my work. I've always been a writer, some of you might be interested to know. I wrote fiction, poetry, reports, the works. But I've always been too scared to share it. YouTube gave me that relative anonymity and the potential platform I needed to realise that as well as loving the creation process, I also love to share my passion and knowledge with the world, and videos are a great way to do that. For someone as introverted as myself, that is a huge blessing. Which Formula 1 team do you think will surprise us the most in the 2022 season? I reckon the squad at Alpine could be one to watch. I really didn't think much of Alonso's return at the start of last year, but I admit I was totally in the wrong. Fernando's still got it, and Esteban Ocon continues to improve and develop. As well as being a highly consistent driver lineup, if they master the regulation change, I can see the instant outfit rising up to the sharp end of the grid, particularly given McLaren's lack of development. Why is Bounty the most disgusting chocolate to ever exist?
Good afternoon, sir. Could we interest you in some chocolate?
Chocolate? Did you say chocolate?
Yes, sir. With or without nuts.
Chocolate? Chocolate! 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 Chocolate!
How do you keep yourself motivated with the channel? Motivation is a pretty difficult subject to cover. When I first made videos, my motivation was simply to upload anything I made every couple of weeks and just keep throwing shit at the wall until it stuck. But nothing did stick, so eventually I got bored of that and switched to Formula 1 content. After one of my early F1 videos in May 2020, I even got a message from Josh Ravel himself, which was awesome. My fellow Kiwi and favourite Formula 1 YouTuber had taken the time out of his day to watch my video and even send me a nice message. Josh, if you are watching this video, that was a really awesome thing to do. I'm still inspired by it even today, so thank you very much. I tried to create videos and upload fairly regularly, once every 2 or 3 weeks. It worked out okay for a while actually. That long streak of videos started in September 2020 with the Project 400 BAR Honda video. It only got 25 views in the first 24 hours. I simply shrugged it off and thought, well, better luck with the next release. That night while I slept, thanks to a share by the Perspective channel and the magic of the algorithm, it was the first video of mine to pop off, as they say. In that first 24 hours, I had about 150, 140 maybe subscribers. I woke up the next morning to see over 1,000 views on that video and nearly 250 subscribers. Obviously, this gave my tiny brain a hit of massive dopamine, so I kept plugging away with the videos. That short-term success hit me right in the hedonistic pathway. All that psychological jargon gets in the way, but really I just got used to that level of success, and I quickly started wondering why none of my subsequent videos were reaching that level of viewership. Around this time, a lot of the smaller F1 YouTubers were hit like a truck by the algorithm and boosted up, most of whom had only started creating content a few months before. I'm ashamed to admit I was jealous. I'd been creating content far longer than some of these people, and maybe it wasn't to the best quality, but I was left out in the proverbial cold. It was a mindset that I really hated myself for, and still do, but I have to admit it, I've got to come clean, and I couldn't stop thinking about it back then. My second video to explode in popularity was the 2025 F1 predictions video. Unlike the Project 400 video, it started off well when I first released it in January 2021, with about 270 views in the first 24 hours, which was at the time about double my average. However, it was in the middle of 2021 that the algorithm picked it up, It went from about 4,500 views in total on May 20th to 39,000 by the end of June. My work was being seen, at its peak, by nearly 4,000 people per day. I was absolutely thrilled. I gained about 120 subscribers from that little spike, which wasn't a lot admittedly, but I was still too high in those thousands of views to notice. After that though, the doubts started to creep in. I had been working on the channel for 2.5 years now, but it hadn't gone anywhere. I started thinking that maybe my successful videos were just flashes in the pan, and while people did view them, they didn't actually like them enough to subscribe. Those insecurities crept in. Was my content not good enough? Was I doing something wrong? Why were these few videos not a permanent upwards trend for my channel? I didn't want to change my content, that much was certain. I didn't want to cover my work in topical clickbait and draw attention to content that I wasn't proud of. But this didn't feel sustainable. Plus some personal and mental health issues, this led to the channel going on hiatus for most of 2021. From September 20 to April 2021, I posted 20 videos. From then until the end of the year, that number had plummeted to 4. Eventually, well, now I suppose, I've gotten back to my old way of creating from late 2020 and early 21. I make videos now because I realise I enjoy it. I don't rush or stick to a stressful upload schedule. I like to watch the finished product actually. I know a lot of YouTubers say, complimenting your own work is a sin, but I'm very proud of the quality of my work. The great community over on Twitter helps out as well. I recently passed 800 followers over there, and just knowing there's a dedicated bunch of people who genuinely enjoy the work I do lifts my motivation immensely. This is a phrase that'll probably come up often, but if your video doesn't pop off at first, there's another one for your catalogue when you do eventually get that popularity spike. It's not a matter of if, but when. Keep your style consistent, set yourself apart from the others, and don't rush yourself. Hard work will assuredly pay off. I've found by working away and engaging with like-minded people that my initial drive for exposure and success and fame has somewhat diminished. It'd be awesome to have that larger audience, but until then, I'm perfectly happy to wait. What is your favourite video that you've made? That's another difficult question. I'm certainly not proud of my earliest videos, the gaming ones. There is a reason why they're unlisted. They were, as I previously mentioned, literally produced because of a bet I made while waiting in line for the PE changing rooms. In true early YouTuber fashion, it was either clips of something cool I'd done in a racing game, or live commentary let's plays with my absolutely terrible laptop microphone, so my voice sounded like it was coming from a 10-year-old locked at the bottom of a submarine.
Red is a game I've been wanting to play on the channel for so damn long. It's one of my favourite games of all time. It's definitely up there in the top 10, and I'm really glad to be able to share it.
Around July-August 2020, as I mentioned before, I saved up enough money to buy a blue snowball microphone and a pop filter. Now I didn't sound like Alvin the Chipmunk on cough medicine, so my videos took a pretty notable increase in quality. I'm pretty proud of my first popular video, on the aforementioned Honda Project 400. It's a story I was really interested in, and there seemed to be very little content regarding it, so I set out to raise awareness of the story. It's pretty much been the whole mission of the channel. I produce videos on whatever I randomly find interesting and want to share. I'd say my favourite video I've made is probably the one on the glorious Brabham BT46B fan car, followed closely by the Bottas Alfa Romeo video I made in September last year, and the most impressive F1 debuts video from November 2020. All of these videos were a joy to write, record and especially edit. Researching my video ideas and translating that passion and emotion into videos is probably the best feeling I've had in the content creation process. Interestingly, even though it's by far the most popular video on my channel, I'm not that proud of my 2025 predictions video. I rushed it a little because I was frustrated with how long it was taking and the lack of decent non-copyrighted footage to match the voiceover. It's not my worst video, but I'd rather those views be spread out over content I'm really proud of than one video that was super popular and quickly dropped off. Top 5 Kiwi Formula 1 drivers. Well, racing drivers, but I don't know many forms of racing outside of Formula 1, so I'm just going to stick with F1 drivers. This tweet, to be honest, is a great idea for a completely separate in-depth video. Sorry, but keep an eye out. What was your first Formula 1 Grand Prix? How did you even get into F1? Okay, so I will admit that this next part is a bit of a story time. If you'll allow me to get a little bit personal, my introduction to Formula 1 was a little unorthodox. The story starts with me, or rather my disability. I have a moderate case of cerebral palsy. I won't bore you with the unpronounceable medical jargon, but it basically means my right arm and leg don't receive good reception from the 5G call center in my brain. The muscles are pretty underdeveloped in these limbs, meaning I can't really walk or run or bike or use pedals, meaning that I couldn't really achieve my childhood dream of becoming a race car driver. In hindsight, I have nowhere near enough money to drive a go-kart for a season, let alone a race car, so better to know now than later. I spent a lot of time in and out of hospitals as a kid getting operated on. I used to be heavily into endurance racing and racing video games, as they would while away the time pre- and post-operation. Now here's where F1 comes in. I had a long operation in September 2011 that necessitated an overnight stay in a hotel. It was late, so my dad turned on the TV in our hotel room and flicked to a sports channel. Unbeknownst to me, the Singapore Grand Prix had been held a couple of days before and the highlights were just starting. Dad turned off the TV a couple of minutes in and went to bed. Mischievous as I was, I waited until he was snoring, turned the TV back on and muted the sound. I instantly fell in love with the glamour of the Marina Bay circuit, the high-speed racing, and especially Jenson Button's chrome McLaren. I remember looking at Schumacher and Perez's crash, I think it was around lap 28. I then watched Japan 2011 a few months later, and Jenson actually won that race. From then on, I was hooked. I watched most of the 2012 season, and I was a strong supporter of both Jenson Button and the legendary Kiwi-founded McLaren team. And as they say, that's history, here we are today. I've never been to a Grand Prix in person due to New Zealand's isolation from anywhere with a Formula 1 venue, or anywhere really, like any place on the planet, but it's the number one thing on the top of my bucket list for the next couple of years. Was it Ericsson's fault? Undoubtedly. You have to have a very high IQ to see beyond the veil of sanity and see that in fact Ericsson moved his car into the 12th astral plane to collide with Grosjean. Therefore, although the world may not know it, it has always and will always be Ericsson's fault. Are you planning a collaboration with any other Formula 1 YouTubers soon? That's a difficult subject to cover, mostly because I haven't really asked anyone or been asked to collaborate by anyone. I've done a few works in the past with the creators like Ryan, sorry if I butcher that by the way, BMPH and my Stoffel Van Dorn video with Kronos F1. I even appeared as a Josh Ravel video once. I was the voice actor for Brendan Hartley. I've found it a really enjoyable experience every time. So if any F1 YouTubers are listening, you have a collab idea you think might work, send me a message on Twitter or something and we'll get working. Emerging Formula 1 creators are also something I really want to support and share in the community, so if you've got a channel or you're wanting to start one, let me know and I'll do my best to help out. What are your future plans for the YouTube channel? Well, in terms of future plans, there's honestly not a lot to say. I'll keep on going as I always have, releasing videos on subjects I find interesting and not bothering with the hot topic of the moment. There's hundreds of other much better Formula 1 channels who do that sort of thing, you know, the up-to-date news stuff, and I want to keep that unique and historical feel for my own work. Regarding money, I never really saw YouTube as a way to make cash, to be honest. It took me nearly 3 years to reach monetization, and in my first month I've earned about $4. Not that I can even use that money yet. I'd be lying if I said I didn't look hopefully at that revenue counter, but at this point it's more in the hope of a spike in popularity than anything. I have, however, decided to reintroduce gaming videos to the channel, starting in 2022. Now, these won't be let's plays or random clips, think of it more like video essays. I'll write a script on a racing game I like, and turn it into a sort of review mixed with a retrospective. For example, I might go in depth about the Grid series, expand with a series on my favourite Gran Turismo games, or talk about the criminally underrated gem that is the Wipeout series. Racing games have always been a huge passion of mine, it's sometimes even bigger than motorsport itself, and it's pretty much defined my love of cars. I'm really excited to share my passion with you on that subject. Adding to that, I feel like I can definitely put more of my personality into gaming videos versus Formula 1 stuff. I'm keen to branch out to more forms of content. They'll probably be less frequent than my F1 related work, given that I probably have to actually play the game to record the footage, but I think it'll add a nice compliment to the channel. Sorry about the voiceover, it's a little hit and miss I guess, but I've been trying out live commentary actually. Usually it takes me hours because I have to clip and delete parts, and I've made a few scrub ups, but honestly with a backing track and music in the background I think it works for a more organic feel, at least for this Q&A video. But anyway, that brings us to the end of this Q&A session. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about me and the channel. Thank you all for a fantastic 3 years on YouTube, and here's to many, many more. Maybe I'll do another Q&A at 100,000 subscribers. But until then, I'll see you all in the next video.